Hello and welcome to Bow Beats and my first impressions of the Elektron Analog Drive. It's a distortion pedal, and in this video we'll be pairing it with a couple of synthesizers and I'll give my, first impressions of it. So let me just say right off the bat that Elektron sent this to me, and before they sent it, I hadn't really thought about buying it for myself. I had been looking at the Analog Heat because the Analog Heat has a stereo input, so I could use it on a whole mix. I wasn't really super interested in a distortion pedal. It wasn't really something that was on my list. But now, after using it for a couple of days, I can truly say that there's just something with adding analog distortion to a sound that makes it sound really interesting. So let's start off with a demo where I show you some of the sounds that you can create with it. So the first thing I want to showcase here is using the circuit, going from the mono out into the analog drive and making some cool drum samples with it through the drive. So I'm just going to turn the drive off for now, and we'll start out by doing, a simple drum groove and take it from there and see how the drive can change up the sound. So just programmed a simple beat here. So I've set the drive to focused dist. Got some highs on it, filtered, added some mid frequencies, some boost to the mids, to the lower mids, added some bass as well. Have the gain here set to about like 11 o'clock. Pretty decent amount of level going out from the unit itself. Let's listen to some of the other types here. So for this drum groove, I like the big dist that I got over here, number 4 here. The settings, I could probably tweak them a lot more, but I'll leave them like that and I'll build a little bit upon this drum groove here. So without the drive activated, it sounds like this. And we can try some other discs as well. So I think the mid drive sounds pretty good here on this beat. I think the other one squashes the beat a little bit too much, but we can try the focused dist here as well. So as you can hear, the focused dist, adds a lot of compression to the sound with these settings that I've got going on right now. Let's try the harmonic fuzz as well on this beat. And let's go for some high gain. So I kind of like the high gain as well as the mid drive here. I think the mid drive, it doesn't, overly compress the sound. So you get a pretty cool loop with a lot of, detail, even though it's quite heavily distorted. Alright, so let's switch out the circuit for the analog keys and see what we can make of it. So we got the Volca here set up. It's on poly mode. It's a simple sequence, and first we'll listen to it bare bones, and then I will go through a couple of the presets on the analog drive and just, to show you what it sounds like. So we went through a couple of the presets. I'm going to switch over to manual mode now, and I'm going to pick a drive circuit that I think will work nicely and do some manual tweaking over a different pattern here. So this is the pattern. It's also quite good to note that these two last settings here, these two last circuits here, seem to amplify any background noise that you have. For example, the Volca Keys here is quite noisy, and I have a lot of problems with ground loops, electricity in this building. It's an old 70s building, so the electricity is not what it should be. So it's good to note that, if I set it to high gain here, you can hear a couple, you can hear pretty much of the sort of noise that comes both from the pedal itself, comes from the Volca, comes from the fact that my building is, the electricity here is pretty crap. So I kind of like the dirty drive setting, so I'm just going to try and tweak it a bit more. And we can of course apply the drive to a chord. So that was the drive applied to the circuit, to the Volca keys. And lastly, I want to demo it with the Minilogue, just applying the drive to an arpeggio that I have played. But before we listen to that, I just want to talk a little bit about my first impressions of the analog drive. The thing is, I never thought I was the distortion kind of guy, but if you've seen my reviews on the Monotron and a couple of other videos I've made, I really started, to explore these more distorted experimental landscapes when it comes to sound. And I think distortion is a really, really important part of that. But more so, I think this is a box, just like the analog heat, that you can use, from mild distortion, just a touch of analog warmth to a sound, or analog dist to a sound, just a touch, a smidge. And then it goes all the way to totally bonkers, totally crazy, twisted, destroyed sounds. And, that's what I've come to love with this unit so far. So I can't see any downsides to this product just yet. There are a couple of things to consider, of course. The price, 300 euros plus, I think it's around 370 euros. But then of course you get more than, it's not just a distortion pedal. That's very important to state. There's 8 different circuits, they do sound different. There's lots of onboard control. So it's something more than just one distortion pedal for plus 300 euros. So that's something to consider. Then there's also, the question whether or not to get this one or get analog heat. And the heat it's definitely less aggressive. This is a distortion pedal for guitars, but also for other instruments. The heat is, a high-end outboard type gear. And it's also good to remember that the circuits on the analog drive are different from the heat. They are not the same. They're more aggressive, they're more gritty, and they are made for a guitar or an instrument much more than the heat, which is more made for applying onto a whole mix. So there's definite differences there that you have to consider. But as far as sound and functionality of this distortion unit, I think they've nailed it. I usually say, like, Elektron, they make stuff sound good or they make stuff sound better. And I think that's pretty true with this kind of product. Yeah, you do pay premium, but you also get a really premium result. I think I've showed that in the demos, that you can really enhance sound with it. And it's totally different from some, digital distortion pedal, that's for sure. So I'll leave you now with a demo with the Minilogue and arpeggio that I will, use different circuits upon and distort the sound a little bit. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support me further, you can check me out on Patreon, for example, patreon.com/bowbeats. All the links are in the description. So stick around for the Minilogue part, but I'm saying goodbye to you for this time. So I hope to see you in the next video. This was Bo from Bow Beats, and have a very pleasant day. Thank you.